Consider this your trigger warning. The following program is strictly satire and is not meant to be taken seriously. So don't get all butthurt, you liberal snowflakes, just because we skewer your sacred cows and expose all your lies and hypocrisy. Truth hurts, and so does satire. So grab a drink, pull up a chair, and enjoy the show.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Good News Show. This is the Zoo Sunday Night Live. It's the Prepared Mind channel, and we're going to talk SHTF, and it's going on right now. Folks, today was Charlie Kirk's Memorial Day. It was amazing to see the turnout. They filled the stadium, parking lot, streets full everywhere. The most, I guess you could say, celebrated in a properly decent way, a remembrance of Charlie, right? Celebrating his life and also, mourning his loss. It's all over the place. That's terrific, right? To see that many people, the most ever for a non-political type person, right? So it's interesting. Is the country turning around? The answer is no. The country is not turning around. You could say more people are finding morality, Jesus, Christianity, decency, some kind of moral compass. Yeah, that is and has been on the rise, and in no small part due to Charlie. So very interesting stuff. So kind of a, I don't know what to call it, a good news thing in a way to see America turning this way. Certainly nobody, I don't think, would willingly sacrifice themselves, but I couldn't see a bigger positive for America than the loss of one life. We've lost individuals here and there. We've lost groups here and there. We've suffered massive casualties in war at times. And the impact, right, of Charlie's death has been staggering in a way. But what I value the most about it, no, that's not quite right. One of the things that I find most valuable in the tragic loss and assassination of Charlie Kirk is that the evil people out there are exposing themselves. That's what I find fascinating. The message they're sending is very, very clear to me. Right. That's what I did. And the rest of the world can also find out. And as I've said before, and I surmised and I guessed and I postulated and I hypothesized and I theorized that, hey, look, we only hear and see the most radicals in politics on the Democrat side, the most radical, violent fruitcakes on the Democrat side. But the COVID thing, when we learned about doctors and nurses and science, we learned that no, there's other groups that are willing to experiment on us, harm us, and they got no problem with it. And then we found out, well, people that ran cities, people that ran companies, people that were just middle management, supervisory, hell, even the rank and file would cancel your ass like a fucking stamp if you didn't do what they say, if you didn't get your shot and get your booster and kiss their ass and wear your mask and keep 6 feet and suck up to them, right? If you didn't do everything they wanted, they said, hell, you don't get health care. Hell, you don't get to have a job. You don't get to have a bank account. We'll cancel and destroy you. We learned, folks, that all of a sudden, regular, everyday Democrats around you and me would cancel you and destroy you over any fucking thing. Walking through a supermarket, Karens. Walking down the street without a mask, Karens would try. You couldn't even go to the fucking beach without Karen cops out there going, oh, I'm just doing my duty, just violating rights. And right, that's who they are. They're all a bunch of fucking Karens. And we found out that they're everywhere. So when I say, hey, look, if you live in a strong Republican area, that's got a 20-point victory, right? 60% Republicans, 40% Democrats, even with a massive buffer, if you think about it, 60-40. Even with that kind of percentage breakdown in your area, that means 4 out of 10 people you meet are like these fucking Karens, and they'll destroy you. They'll shit on you. They'll rat on you. They're fucking snakes in the grass. That is who we are. Mystery solved. And that was just over, well, some social stuff, right? But now we've learned, with Charlie Kirk, the average, everyday, run-of-the-mill person, from the highest politicians, the highest bankers, they're secretly pushing so that the lowest, these middle-range people, all come out and curse Charlie and spit on Charlie and curse you and spit on you, spit on America, right? You can see now it's not just about canceling you. It's about fucking killing us. Everyone has a target on them. Everyone. Folks, it's the Prepared Mind channel. If you've got something to say, we can put you on the screen. Right up there is the super chat button. It is Sunday Night Live. That means it's your chance to talk, your thoughts, your messages, your predictions, your prognostications. What do you want to discuss? Now, $50 and more super chats, well, they do two things. They support the channel, like this 18-year Glenn Fiddick. And I get one of these. So thank you, everyone who does the $50 or more super chats. We're going to start with Chin Music this week. And, whoa, look at that, right on. Oh, we're going to talk about that 30 caliber bullet at some point that's in my shot glass. Interesting term, right? Shot glass, and it's shot with a bullet. Anyways, Chin Music has a no rant today. He's kind of a good news guy today. Very smooth. Very, very smooth. And that was a $52.23 super chat donation. Thank you, Mr. Chin Music. Now, his no rant. That's what he wants to talk about. He says, guys, this week has been terrific personally and professionally. I'll take the wins and the break. And by break, I think he means a break from all the bullshit, right? He took a bunch of wins, and he gives some names out here. He wants you to remember some names. Jules Mahan, Leah Bayer, and Elaine Wang. He says, remember those names. Jules was on TV today at Pebble Beach in a Champions Tour Pro-Am she qualified for. Leah and Elaine led their high school teams in a statewide tournament, both shooting close to par or better for 3 rounds. And they are both freshmen. I cracked the 200-pound mark and got my body fat under 15%, taking the wins and a well-deserved break from politics. Love you guys, all of you in the Prepared Mind family. See you in a couple of weeks. Tiny Viking fella, Semper Fi and Semper Fi. And congratulations to Chin Music. He's here every week offering, well, typically political insights and rock hard, straight as a grizzly dick opinions from an American. Gotta love that guy. He's been absolutely fantastic. And just like the rest of you, right? We're all here because we're Americans. Good stuff. Thank you, Chin Music, and a very personal congratulations on the performance and success that you've just shared with us. Let's see here. What do we have? What do we have? What happened here? I don't know what happened here. Crazy business. Mr. Uman, let's do this. Okay, I got it. Okay. No. I'm telling you, it almost seems like when my emails start disappearing systematically out of my email box and I'm the only one who should be in there. Oh, you bastard. Let's see. Let me try this. You go to the trash can. Just unbelievable. I just got a bunch of material erased. Darcy T, can you please respond and shoot me your your email that you had sent me. All right. Well, what we're going to have to do then is I guess we're going to have to go back and just pick up right where we normally leave off with your questions. We have a $50 super chat donation from Darcy T. And I want Darcy T to please send me her questions and comments again. Good golly. That is weird. And I have a lot of very good, interesting stuff. Hopefully we didn't lose it all. Mr. Uman, we got some super chats out there. Let's have some fun with that. We got lots of topics. We're going to start with Dan the Man Erickson with a $2 super chat. And he says, hope we cream these worms in the midterms, meaning the off presidential election years. Next year in 2026, we're going to have elections. Now, cream the worms. We got quite a few things going on, folks, quite a few things. And I think it's really going to come out to what we've been blessed with, which is the opinion, and we have the brains to listen, that we need to all get active. It was interesting on Friday's talk with the Corsair fella, Steve, right? We need to do something, not just bitching on the internet, but in our own lives, in our own work, with our families everywhere. Get out and get active somehow, because that's what the left does. And then they steal our tax money, of course, to fund their efforts. So in a way, we create work for ourselves that way. But what we need to do, how do we cream the worms, as Dan the Man says we should? Well, get active, right? What is Trump doing? He's trying to get the, vote one day, vote on paper, hand count, get away from these computers, this bullshit where a computer collects our votes and sends them to Bulgaria or Macedonia or Serbia or some shithole country where they tally them for us. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, right? Makes sense. Same people. That's how you get, let's just say, 600,000 votes in a state where only 400,000 are registered. That sort of shit. In any event, the can of worms. So we've got that with Trump. We have redistricting efforts in many states, right? Oh, the Democrats are going to do it back. Actually, the Democrats lose playing that game because they are already gerrymandering voting districts to benefit Democrats. That's how they hold power in California. That's how they hold power in Chicago and hold power in New York. Not just a little bit, but tightly. We also need to get a state called Texas to do its fucking job and put real Republicans in charge of the Senate and the Assembly. And they need a real Republican governor. They don't need Hot Wheels, and they don't need a Brian Kemp. In fact, in the state of Georgia, where Brian Kemp is governor, they're looking at bringing in Ratspermberger, the Secretary of State, who hamstrung Trump in 2020, released information he shouldn't have been releasing, did so with an effort to harm Trump politically, which worked. And this guy claims to be a fucking Republican. I think we got three political parties in this country. You got the Democrats, you got the Rhino Republicans, and you got a handful of real Republicans who are conservatives. Anyways, cream the worms in the midterms. Get active. Write, text, call all of your congressmen, congresswomen, senators, etc. We've got to stay active and keep the pressure on. Write the White House and keep the pressure on Trump. Use social media like X, Truth Central, or Truth whatever the hell, right? Instagram, whatever you've got, use it. It magnifies your voice. And a message you may only see goes to 5 people, who they send it to, well, 5 people. But at some point, if you've got a strong and well-worded message, it can go from 5 people to 6 to 10 to 12 to 15 to 20, and it can exponentially grow. There's the Senate.gov and Congress.gov and the Capitol Switchboard phone number. So, yeah, I strongly recommend this. This is how we can win the midterms. Now, in addition to that, Dan, is the Charlie Kirk assassination and the cold-bloodedness of the Democrats out there shows you who our opponents are. Right? The Rhino Republicans, they'll keep their mouths shut. They've only had their votes bought. But Democrats, boy, they're going to come out screaming. They're going to call for more of what they're doing, which includes more violence also, folks. But that's who they are. What they're losing, though, are people that we want to call moderate Democrats. Democrats who were guilted into being Democrats. Democrats who thought, well, everyone else is a Democrat, so I may as well be one. Or I don't plan on arguing with them, so I'm just going to be one of them so that I can just go about my life. Right? These are the people at work. You're like, you know what? If I say anything, they yell at me. So, and if I don't cheer them, they yell at me because they're fucking assholes. Right? But a lot of people are moving away from that. They're like, you know what? Democrats, they're just disgusting people, vile people. So consequently, right, I think that we've got a great chance, Dan, but we've got to be active. We can't just let them kill the Charlie Kirks of the world and hope everyone stays sad and enthusiastic for the message. The American public has demonstrated they need a message. They need to hear the message. They need to hear a message frequently, and the message needs to tell them what to do. Right now, you guys, right? You know what the message is. You live it. Other people need to hear it repeatedly, be told that that's the message they should believe, right? You've got to give people instructions. So I'm going to do that right now. Here's the message now. Give the video a thumbs up. Share the internet address. And, you've got to be a subscriber to get on the board. You've got to be a subscriber. Anyways, so I got something from Leonard. We got a $5 super chat from Leonard that came through. Looks like PayPal. So we need to look for Leonard, and Jolene will help you find that, Mr. Uman. Leonard, thank you. We'll get you on the board. Be sure and let everyone know it's you. And if anyone tries pretending to be Leonard, we're going to turn a Rottweiler loose who's going to perforate your ass cheeks with a chomp chomp. Anyways, all good stuff, folks. Sunday Night Live, I'm glad you are here with me. Let's talk about what the heck is going on out there. I'm going to bring a little bit of funny humor to what's going on here. But like all good humor, it has many grains of truth and facts within it. And that's what makes it so good. Kash Patel, you know that guy, director of the FBI. He has confirmed that, well, the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigating, is investigating all theories surrounding Charlie Kirk's assassination, including the concept that everyone's pointing to: accomplices, Discord chats, bullet angles, shot location, right? Weapons transport and potential hand signals out there that were going on, right? But also, Kash Patel says there is no credible evidence of child trafficking by a man convicted of child trafficking, along with his child trafficking partner, who has a bookload of men who wanted child trafficking to an island known widely for child trafficking. There's none of that. But you can trust them when it comes to Charlie Kirk. They're going to look into everything. I don't buy that a bit. I don't. I think, thank you, Mr. Uman. We'll kick to that here in a second. As far as I'm concerned, the shit we've been fed is every bit as bad as the assassination of the President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, who was killed by a lone gunman nut who somehow shot through a miraculous tree using an Italian bolt-action pile-of-shit rifle with a busted scope, and the whole entire mechanism wasn't working, firing mechanism, meaning I don't know how they got 3 shots off, period. And the gun was fucking broken as a piece of shit. But he shot through a tree at a moving target, moving away from him. He scored 1 shot in the back. He sent another bullet down that skittered off the pavement and hit a guy named James Tague in the cheek. And the 3rd shot was a headshot, right? We're supposed to believe that. Well, what's happened as far as I'm concerned with Charlie is, look, if the government just gave us enough truth instead of blowing smoke up our ass. I mean, what's the difference between Lee Harvey Oswald being the lone gunman and Lee Harvey Oswald and another person? They're like, well, 2 is a conspiracy. Big fucking deal, right? 1 killer, 2 killers. What's the difference? Right? Tell us the truth. There were a bunch of killers. They could have said there were 3 shooters around JFK. It was crazy. Right? And they were all Russian communists. Instead, they blamed, right, a loser of a guy who probably wasn't even in the building at the time, or at least on that floor. In any event, great topic. All right, we've got Leonard's question. Leonard did a $5 super chat donation, but he went into the PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo box down below. And he asked a great question. Leonard says, what are your thoughts on Trump wanting to take Bagram back? Bagram, folks, is the Air Force base down in Afghanistan. Yeah, in Afghanistan, folks. Bagram is the Air Force base that was turned over by Joe Biden to the Taliban as Joe Biden ran out of the country, leaving, well, tons of people behind. Tons of people behind. I don't think enough can be written in the history books that children learn about the treachery and treason of Joe Biden. So America went to Afghanistan under the premise of getting Osama bin Laden. And it looks like and sounds like the CIA had their mitts in there too, because they wanted opium poppy fields planted. And, you know, they wanted, then there were businesses there that had mining, you know, as in raw materials. They wanted that. And the United States of America, well, we got Bagram Air Force Base. And we put into that country over $1 trillion, at least, fighting a war to serve who? Well, we had American servicemen, we had foreign servicemen, we had American subcontractors, American employees working directly for the government. Everyone was abandoned. They just pulled out without telling anyone and left the civilians behind and said, you figure out your own fucking escape. As the Taliban took our material weapons, you know, trucks, transports, Humvees, everything, right? MRAPs, everything. Left them tanks, helicopters, even planes. And then, of course, an entire Air Force base. You guys know what it takes to build an Air Force base? The amount of concrete it takes to build an Air Force base, it's incredible. Because you've got to land those giant jets on really good runways. In any event, Trump wants to take it back. He's told the Taliban that, guess what? We want that air base back. Right? When Biden pulled out, the estimate was the remaining value was $86 billion in equipment. I always wondered, does that include the cost to build a fucking air base, runways, hangars, which has also repair equipment, everything, right? Infrastructure. The military cannot operate, modern military cannot operate without infrastructure. So Trump says, hey, I think we'll be taking that back. Now, the United States of America does have air bases all over the world, but at most of them, I think, and I'm going to say like all of them, the the sovereign nation around them. I'm now going to have to revise this fucking comment. But the remaining sovereign nation around them agrees on it and benefits. The one exception I just thought of is Cuba. Guantanamo Bay is not there out of the goodness of the communist's heart. Right? That's not how that works. But the Taliban said, we're not going to give you it back. And we're prepared to fight you for another 20 years. One of the things that I find fascinating about this whole idea is, yeah, the Taliban are right that they could fight for another 20 years. They could fight for another 40 years, 60, 80. They are desert cockroaches, folks, and that is their desert. And they know how to live in it. They know how to survive in it. And I'm sure they've got stockpiles of Russian weapons, RPGs, AK-47s, and lots of that steel case crap for ammunition, just buried in caves everywhere. Got to remember the the Soviet Union of Russia, right, when they were communists, in order to keep people working, the state, the government, kept building and building and building and building and building weapons, because what else are they going to do? Right? So their T-72 battle tanks, their MiG-17, 18, and 21, right? Jets that they'd been flying forever. They still have MiGs, but right, they built as much of this shit everywhere, and then they ship it to all their areas. AK-47s and RPGs. They've got these. They'll fight for another 20 years. Now you can rest assured that anything that could be moved, that wasn't bolted down, that they took American weapons, American ammunition, American rockets, American missiles, and they've got them in a cave somewhere, and they're storing those. So Trump wants it back. The Taliban says, I don't think so. We'll fight you over it. I don't know why this is a question. Let me ask this question. Would you be more supportive of going back into Afghanistan and losing more Marines, soldiers, airmen? Would you be more inclined to say that's a good thing? Or would it be, where our men kill thousands and tens of thousands and their people kill hundreds and thousands of ours? Or would you be more inclined to want special forces to go in there and take out the leadership in the Taliban, piece at a time, however and whatever flavor that comes in? Right? But I know a lot of people are going to say, you know what, just fuck it all together, right? They already cut our losses. We made, why do we want to get involved again? So when it comes to why would we want to get involved again if the CIA isn't running poppy plantations? Or do you think that if we have the air base, the CIA will keep us there for the express purpose of having an Air Force base? Right? There's a lot of, why do we need to be there? That part of the world. What's in that area for us? Right? They opened lithium mines, right? Or did they discover really it's not the stuff we want? This isn't the country you're looking for. What do you guys think? I'd like to read your thoughts in the comment section. And if you want comments, you've got to be subscribed to the channel for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, YouTube will let you start participating in the conversations. Anyways, let's have some more fun. It is Sunday Night Live. We got a week of SHTF. We've got another week coming up of Democrats telling you exactly who they are. They won't lie, folks. They don't need to. A lot of them are being canceled. A lot of them are getting, the consequence of free speech. They're starting to get that, but they're not going to stop. We're already seeing a resurgence in their bad attitudes. And I think this week we're going to get a lot more action out there. Mr. Uman, speaking of action, who's up next? It is Redneck Roughneck. And he says, I did see where Trump put out a statement saying he wanted Pam Bondi to get Comey, Schiff, and Letitia. That would be James Comey, former FBI director. Schiff is Adam Schiff, also known as a pencil neck, melon head, butt pirate, that guy, or just Shifty Schiff. And Letitia James, right, who I call fat ass, who was the, she was the attorney general for New York. And, Adam Schiff is a California senator. Anyways, Trump wants them in jail, and he posted that Pam was smart and doing a good job. And then posted that Pam was smart and doing a good job. It looked like Trump, while on his Truth Social, was writing a DM or direct message to Pam, because it just said Pam : and it read very, 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 very critically of Pam, personnel around her, and that something needs to happen, right? So it didn't look like it was supposed to be for the general people. But on the other hand, you've got to understand the games being played. Right? Why, and why? Right? Then he posted that Pam was smart and doing a good job, as if to say, whoops, I didn't mean for everyone to see that. Well, the Democrats out there, folks, are screaming that Trump is using his political power to punish and attack them. You know what? It's funny though, is I don't recall them saying Trump is lying about them. They're just complaining he's using his political power to get them. Well, everyone has been criticizing Pam, yours truly, because she is an absolute shit stain of an attorney general. She's every bit as worthless as every other Republican attorney general. If we want to go back and count Jeff Sessions, loser. You want to count Bill Barr, complete fat ass loser. And now we've got this one, Pam Bondi, who spends more time on Fox News than she does actually working to make this country better by eliminating, meaning getting the scumbags out. Yeah, I tell you, folks, I tell you. Darcy T, get your question back to me in the email. For some reason, email has erased you off the board permanently. I can't even find you in where things went. Unbelievable. In any event, let's do this. Let's have some more fun. Do we have a super chat out there, Mr. Uman? All right, Uman. Oh, Uman. Whoa. He says, hey, appeasing the sheep with some opium. Yes, that would be the Trump message to Pam. The message for us is, oh, look at that. Look at that. Trump's telling her to get the job done, get off her butt, make it happen. Because he also said that the people, meaning us, right, we're seeing his, I don't want to put words in his mouth. So this is what I took from it. He is being politically hurt with people like you and me who are demanding to see justice. We're not seeing any justice, therefore she's not doing her fucking job. We have all the evidence. We have the proof. Investigations have been done, is what he intimated. Arrest people. Justice is what is needed. Now, if she follows through this week and we get some arrests of people like Shifty Schiff and Fat Ass Letitia and James Loser Comey, God, I hate that guy. Right? All of these scumbags out here because of the crimes they committed. You don't see someone murder or rob or commit fraud and go, oh, what a champ. You're like, that's a fucking scumbag. Those people are scumbags. They need to be arrested. They need to be arraigned. They need to be held without bail. They need to put on a defense, get in front of a court, and have the evidence prove their guilt or exonerate them. And anyways, folks, Uman says, appeasing the sheep with opium. Trump is trying to tell us, it's cool, man, we got you. Question is, do you believe it? Well, it is September 21st. September 21st, huh? You know what that is? That's the equinox. The fall equinox. The fall equinox. In any event, no one's been arrested. He's been in office since January 21st. 8 months in, not a single high-level arrest of the people he, as well as us, have been calling criminals and traitors. Right? So Uman says, I'm not appeasing the sheep until I see some arrests. I'm not buying it. Yeah, I'm not buying it either. Right? I'm buying that maybe he's upset. I'm buying that he might be telling Pam to do her job, but she might be like, fire me. Right? I'm not going to prosecute these people because I just blah, 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 whatever her fucking excuse is. Right? They're just kicking the can down the road. They're just trying to appease us. Show me the arrest. Now, for the Democrats and their part, Democrats put Trump in jail. They arrested his ass. Former president of the United States. They got no problem arresting him over made-up crimes. Not even anything with real evidence. They charged him with 33 or 34 counts of nothing. Literally 34 counts of nothing. They had shit thrown out of court left and right, but they were willing to try it. They were willing to attack him. They were willing to arrest him. And their constituency, their base, lapped that shit up like a thirsty dog drinking out of a toilet. That's your Democrats, because that's what they suck on, toilet water, right? But Trump is trying his own version of that. But I don't think we're going to see the arrests. I really don't. Okay, man, thank you, sir, for that. The hopium, boy, that's some addictive stuff. You got to be careful with it. You got to be careful with that on the conspiracy side, hoping that we can just figure out all the conspiracies, because once we figure that out, we'll know who the bad guys are. Once we know who the bad guys are, they'll have to realize they're in trouble, and then they'll run, and then Trump will be after them, right? That's my hopium, right? That I get sucked into that right now. Once we figure this one out, they're not going to get away with it. All right, man, who's next on the Prepared Mind channel? We've got Dr. 762 with a $5 super chat donation. And he says, here's a deep dive, John. Is it probable that the New World Order, using the CIA, which is the Communist Insurrection Agency, is it probable the New World Order uses the CIA to force causing all this world chaos? Oh, I think so. I think the CIA is completely involved. I think the Mossad is completely. I think Interpol. I think MI6. I think the CIA is involved. Yes, you bet. I think a lot of the U.S. government is involved in this conspiracy because they bought into it. They've been working for it for 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 years. Look at people like Henry Kissinger. Did that son of a bitch even die yet, or is he still alive? He looked and sounded dead during the Nixon administration. We are in charge here at the White House. That guy, right? We are very much in charge in the White House. The guy did not sound like an American, but he was in charge at the White House, right? He spent at least 70 years of his life as a deep state, New World Order, anti-American operative. But back then, in the early 70s, how much anti-American could you be? Look at how openly anti-American they are now. Look at how openly evil government is now. So yeah, the CIA, and understand this, and this is, I do firmly believe this, that all the conspiracy rhetoric out there, that's one thing, right? But understand the CIA has its own agenda, right? The European Union has its own agenda. The bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. have their own agenda. The World Economic Forum in Europe has its own agenda. They all have their own thing they want. Mossad and Israel have their own agenda, but they're all working together to bring down Europe, European nations, and the United States of America so they can control the world. They'll all work together to destroy something, and then they're going to try carving it up and giving themselves power. And if they were ever to tear this country down to that level, we're going to have an Afghanistan type moment, which means, well, the next 40 to 80 years of fighting a guerrilla war against the most evil fucking people on the planet, which means they won't fight neatly, nicely, cleanly, or even with a semblance of decency. They'll fight and play every dirty trick in the book, because the people that want to take this country, folks, are willing to commit mass genocide. Once they're exposed, look out. That's my take on it there, Mr. Dr. 762, right? They want world chaos because they want the world destroyed so they can introduce their version of government, their version of life for humanity. That's what they want. And that's what they're going to get, or they're going to die trying, or fuck, even worse, kill us trying. Okay, Mr. Uman, who's up next? What do we got? We've got dun 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 dun. Big Dan the Man, $5 super chat donation. And he says, some of the comments I've seen online about Charlie are unreal. He promotes hate speech. He's a racist, a fascist, total slander of Charlie Kirk. Oh, he's a misogynist. I didn't know he hated women. All women. He hates all blacks. All blacks. He hates everybody. They don't. Do they criticize him for hating all Muslims? Because he actually says some shitty things about Muslims. he was a big proponent and ally of homosexuals, which I find fascinating. But Israel, well, he was a supporter of Israel. And then he started questioning Israel, and now he's dead. So, Charlie, let me rephrase this. Charlie was like a lightning rod for attention. And I think it's because he really was so well grounded and versed in history and religion and social sciences and psychology. He didn't make everybody happy. In fact, of course, he pissed a lot of people off because he was good at what he did. So he made himself a lightning rod, probably the same way all of us do at different levels. Right? I put my face on here. I'm a lightning rod for attention. But Charlie Kirk, he was good at it. He found his niche. He's been working it about as long as I've been here, maybe a little bit longer. Charlie Kirk has been out there. He's gone out into the people. The very reason I didn't want to and continue to not want to, especially now, do public meetings, public forums, which would be very small relative to what Charlie's doing, but doing meetups in public because I felt these wackos out here might take a shot at me. And I think that we've seen evidence that that is what can happen. That you can be taken out, especially if you're a big enough voice that you're converting not just a couple people or a couple hundred or even a couple thousand, but rather hundreds of thousands of people have had their lives affected in what I would call a positive manner, right? Which is to say, it woke them up. And I'm really glad that Charlie was able to do that, but they had to kill him because he was starting to criticize the wrong people. Now, are the transgenders finally becoming that dangerous that they decided to start political assassinations? Or have they been violent for years? They've actually been violent for years. Going back years and years, these left-wing lunatics have been extremely, extremely violent. So much so that they kill people, mass murder. Before that, I watched them physically threaten people. I've seen videos from the public where these trannies visibly threaten people. They are a group of people who are, well, they have a mental defect. They have a personality disorder. They should have their own, well, I don't even want to give them a chapter. I think they deserve their own separate manual for DSM. Right? These people are jacked in the head on mind control drugs and SSRIs and hormone therapy and treatment. Right? They're medical experiments, and they become violent. Right? It's funny. They would want to say Charlie promotes hate speech. There are thousands of black people that are more than happy to say, no, it's not true. What they do, though, is they take a segment of what Charlie says out of context and play it and cut it in such a way that it sounds like he is the worst human being alive. Or he'll talk about a specific black woman who is incredibly stupid. I can give you names if you'd like. And then they take that and say, he says all black women are stupid. No, he didn't. Right? But that's what they do, and that's how they play their game. And you would think that if for half a second these college students actually had common sense or critical thinking skills, they would see through the lies of the left and go, wait a minute, you just took that out of context. But I think what Charlie did was he actually proved, right, that he could speak to a number of these young people and that they would hear reason and logic and not just a soundbite, but rather get a full speech. Or actually they would spend time and literally get to talk about their belief system with him without interruption and without ridicule, and just be talked to. And he convinced a lot of people, folks. He became dangerous. And when he started criticizing people he should not have, that's when you're in trouble, right? You're in trouble. You find out who your enemy is when you're no longer allowed to criticize them. And under the Biden administration, we discovered in our country, you couldn't criticize, Biden. You couldn't criticize the FBI. You couldn't even criticize a fucking school board. much less criticize the LGBTQ types. You couldn't criticize the government's answers about what is COVID and what is this Jim Jones juice crap you want us to take. You criticized it, you used certain words, they silenced you. They punish you. And that's where we're at, folks. That's how they want to play the game. Anyways, Dan, I really appreciate the great question. Yeah, I didn't see any of that in Charlie Kirk. I saw some things were odd, but he was no saint, right? I saw him get mad and get upset and say some things that really weren't that nice or really weren't that Christian. But that's just me. I won't criticize the man. It's hard work. It's hard work. Not the muscle kind. It's hard work. It's my long-lost sister, Nancy Keg, out there with a $20 super chat donation. And she says, Semper Fi, John, keep spreading the word on truth. I will, Nancy. She says, what do you see coming in October? Okay, well, in 2019, in September, the month we're in now, we saw a banking system collapse, a literal banking system collapse. It was actually, well, it was massive. And that banking system collapse was hidden with a bunch of giveaway money, came from the Exchange Stabilization Fund to keep everything going with the banking system. The government took over and it started lending banks money overnight. And then shortly thereafter, you go from September, October, November, December, along comes COVID-19, and it started its shit. And they locked the world down, fucked the economies up, destroyed supply chains, and started playing that game. That massive, massive psyop, medical psyop, psychological warfare, massive on Americans and the whole world, seeing what we would tolerate, seeing how scared we would be. And it showed that half the country is against the other half of the country. And it ultimately had to come to an end. But believe me, there's still Democrats out there right now wearing masks, maintaining 6-foot distance. They're willing at any second to snitch on somebody if it really mattered and would do something. They're just waiting. So what do I see in October? Right now, Nancy, and by the way, thank you. The $20 will go to making sure I got tuna fish and Spam in the larder, in the pantry, in the storage. So what do I see coming? It's September. We are again at that place where the banking is in big trouble. We're at that place where the economy, well, it's not doing great, but the stock market's at all-time highs. Tariffs are starting to have an effect, both good and bad. Is there enough good to outweigh the bad? Are we going to go into a 1929 style crash, which many economists are trying to get across? Other people are expecting a giant ramp up and blow up of the economy with all of this expansionist monetary policy, just throwing dollars out there, helicopter money, if you will, that will fuel and fund at least a year's worth of, well, prosperity, happiness, presumed prosperity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Some people will sit around going, I can still barely afford my fucking bills, but my 401k is looking juicy. Woo! Right? And there's going to be other people that go, man, I can barely afford my bills. I don't have a 401k, but other people around me are good, and the news tells me it's good, so it must be good. We have there's a possibility in October here, Nancy, and then December, or November, and then December, that we start seeing some real negative consequences, and it just might come out. One of the numbers, and I'm not trying to throw fucking wet sand on a fire, but facts are facts. And the fact is, the last BLS, that's the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the last BLS report that came out of Washington that got revised was the biggest revision in United States history, meaning the government lied more than ever. They just fucking threw some good numbers out there trying to make it look great, and the next month, woo, it goes down. Now, I think Trump has until the first week of November, to blame everything on Biden. That's the Obama-Biden presidency, right? If he's going to blame any economic news on them, he's got to do it before that, because they'll go, you've had a whole year to do something, smart guy. They're already going to do that, the Democrats are. But after a year, I think most Americans go, why were we being lied to? Right? You had a year to figure out where we're at and then do something about it. But Trump, I think, hopefully he's smart enough to say, hey, look, we inherited all this shit. They've been trying to destroy this country for decades. I'm trying to bring things back. You bet there's going to be growing pains. It's going to be difficult. We're going to have slowdowns, right? And I am expecting at some point, I don't know if it's going to be October, Nancy, but at some point, I am anticipating an economic session of pain. I think the government's going to introduce central bank digital currency, CBDCs, but they're not going to close all the banks. What they're going to do is give us a separate CBD account and say you can buy food with that. Right? You can buy fuel with that. This will help you pay the bills while we get through all these other economic hard times. I don't think they'll be as generous as they were during the COVID lockdown, where all these people managed to stay unemployed and make more money on government giveaways. Somehow make more money in unemployment for COVID than they could ever make in their jobs, so they wouldn't go back to their jobs. I have a funny feeling they may say, you're not getting anything. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how they're going to means test it, but they're going to get it introduced. I think that is coming. I do think there's going to be helicopter money poured in buckets bigger than ever. I think the government's going to claim that it's got more wealth than ever before that's been hidden. This, and you hear and you see a little bit of it here and there. There's hundreds of trillions of dollars that Trump can unlock and give away. It's all debt spending, deficit spending, in my opinion. And I think they're making a lot of shit up. They're going to try and introduce a stable coin, a federal stable coin could be associated with this whole thing. Those are the economics. Now, with regard to international affairs, what are we going to see in October? I think we're going to see an expansion before the end of the year at some point. An expansion of war between Ukraine and Russia in that general area. I'm expecting in October, if not before the end of the fucking month, a massive, massive false flag in the United States of America. Something along the lines of 9/11 in size, scope, and shock value. A lot of people believe it's going to be the activization of Islamic militant jihad warriors. There's some talk about that over the weekend. That they're going to turn these guys loose on us. Like everything else, I am all for them revealing who they are so that they can be dealt with. I hate it when you turn the lights on and the cockroaches are hidden before you even blink once. Right? I want the cockroaches to come out in the sunlight and show us where they're at and show us what they believe and how far they're willing to go and how desperate they are to kill everybody. I want to see that. I think the rest of us need to see that. The same way the entire country, Nancy, needed to see how bloodthirsty, how vile, how repulsive Democrats are with respect to Charlie Kirk being assassinated. Whether it's the youth in college, the government people at the top, administrators, doctors, nurses, professionals, mothers, right? Lunatic, limp leftists everywhere. They showed us who they are, and I want the crazy, radical jihadis from another country. Show us who you are. I want all of America's enemies, folks. Even that country whose name starts with I, Iran. And there's more I countries, right? There's more you countries. There's a lot of countries out there that play and work for the bad guys, folks. We need to get rid of them, right? Fucking North Korea. Wow. And I'm glad to see Japan fighting back for its own life and its own culture and traditions. And Trump also did something with the foreign worker program. Very interesting stuff. All right, let's do it. Let's have some more fun out there. Mr. Uman, I'm getting thirsty. Do we have something to do? Father No says we're going to be left holding the bag. BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. BRICS is going to put the fuck to the dollar, and we are going to descend into fourth world status because there's not enough Americans that believe me, in and out nation. We're going to have possibly exactly what you're describing. We, the people, will be left holding the bag. Now, how bad it gets is the big question. Descending into fourth world status, which is SHTF. It's not even third world, which is, well, we have electricity and water and sewer sometimes, and we have a little bit of productivity in the nation, kind of. And we have kind of a government, but not really because it's so corrupt. You know, country being run by warlords. That's third world. Fourth world is just fucking Mad Max. And I hope we don't go there permanently. Right? As it is, my very optimistic belief system, and I guess I'm guilty of being optimistic, is that we can, as a nation, we can lose our power. We can lose our water. We can lose our sewer. We can lose our fuel supplies, gasoline. We can lose manufacturing. We can lose production. We can lose mining. We can lose agriculture for a short while. But will we survive? Will we come back? Is the big question. Can we, from something like that, where we've got Mad Max in certain cities, Mad Max in certain parts of the country? We could. But what would the rest of the world do? So, Father, no, this is something that's going on, right? BRICS is doing its best to have a currency buyback or a debt swap with gold. In other words, gold-backed or gold-secured trade and wealth exchange with other nations. They're setting that up. The dollar is in big, big, big trouble. It's going down, and that helps explain why gold and silver are going up and other commodities are going up. And the ability to control natural resources is going to cause nations to change their investing patterns. Commodities, folks, real things. How much AI do we need? How many cell phones do we need? Why do we need to keep upgrading them when they work just fine as they are? Why not make a cell phone that lasts 5 years instead of 3 or 4? Why not just leave it alone? How much better can the cameras get? But they don't need to keep pouring all of this money into something that's been invented. Kind of like a 1970 F-100 pickup truck. Great truck. Why change it? But they did. And there's just not enough 1970s F-100s out there anymore. In any event, let's do some more, Mr. Uman. Who's up next on the Prepared Mind channel? It is Perry Blake with a $49.99 super chat donation. Oh, yes, sir. That means the bottle of Glenfiddich 18 is going to come out, and it's very smooth. Glenfiddich has a great peatiness to it that I really, really enjoy. I love the Glenlivet, but the Glenfiddich is it's so unique and wonderful. Anyways, single malt scotch, my friends, from a $50 super chat. Thank you, Perry Blake. Semper Fi. Cheers, salut, prost, down the hatch. Woo, like mother's milk. All right. And Perry says, the silent majority is finally waking up. Semper Fi from a squid. Semper Fi to you, brother, Seaman. I tell you, the other day with we had Steve with Corsair Trainers on. He's a ridiculous jarhead, kind of like the other guy that I know is a ridiculous jarhead. In any event, we were talking about corpsmen, Navy personnel that trained with Marines on base where I was at, and they corpsmen, medics. You know, at that time I was kind of making fun of their uniforms because that's what we did. We made fun of their uniforms. They're wearing those ridiculous denim bell bottoms and a Cracker Jack hat. That was the attitude we had when we got out of boot camp and we saw these guys and girls. But once you really work with others in the military, you kind of understand why they chose their MOSs and chose the branches of service, and you respect them, you appreciate them, you love them for those qualities. So the Navy's the fucking Navy, because it's it's the Navy. Gotta love them, right? Love the squiddies. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the drink as well. But let's talk about what Perry wants to talk about, the silent majority. The silent majority means how much of America, it's not that they don't give a shit, it's just that they'll let others handle it. They're busy, they have families, they have jobs, they have lives. They just want to be left the fuck alone, right? They want to live their lives. They'll pay some taxes. They want to live their lives. They'll put up with some bullshit. They want to live their lives, but they're just quiet about it. They may or may not vote, and they don't go around telling anyone anything. They don't put sign placards in their yard. They're not advertising. They're not active. They're not involved. They participate. They have jobs. They pay taxes. They're good members in their community, but they're quiet. That's the silent majority. And I think it's a very interesting point to go to, Perry, to say that they're finally waking up, which is to imply the silent majority likes its slumber. It's the sleeping bear. It's the sleeping dog. And it's a great number of people, and they've been waking up. They woke up under Trump the first time. They woke up during COVID. They woke up under Biden. They got woken up when Trump was shot through the ear, right? And now this is different, though. That's all politics, elections, politicians, television personalities, global politics, economics. Fuck all that stuff. It's just a bunch of noise to the silent majority, because they're thinking about what they see in their lives. How's it on Main Street in my town, right? How are the people doing in my neighborhood? How's the everyday regular Joe doing? Right? Has nothing to do with all that Washington horse shit. They're the silent majority, and they're worried about the world they live in. And then they see Charlie Kirk, someone from, the neighborhood, someone who has a microphone and a shitty bar stool to sit on under a $150 cheap ass fucking tent. And he's talking to dumbass college kids, literally dumbass college kids. Allegedly, I'm too smart to go to fucking college, because there's no way I could be as dumb as those people to be accepted in those grade A universities. But Charlie's there talking to him. He's a regular dude. And I think that's really what happened with all this social media is regular people like you and me got on a little square and started talking our own little soapbox that goes around, right? And Charlie was good at it. And then they shot him. And America went, wait a minute. Oh, time out. This is not Trump. This is not Nancy Pelosi. This is not Bill Clinton. Right? This isn't politics. Now you're killing, literally, targeting literally regular people. A little guy who's got, he's gone out there, he's worked hard, he's made some of himself, just a regular looking guy wearing a fucking t-shirt, not a 3-piece suit, right? But in any event, the silent majority, I think, is finding it harder to fall back asleep, right? The BLM riots didn't serve the Democrats very well. It exposed them, and then Trump got back into office this time, and now how do we know? What do we know? They got their money from the federal government. The federal government has been funding the trafficking of children for the purposes of sex. They've been funding the trafficking of humans to invade our country for the last 5 years that we know of, but probably the entire time all the way back to the 1950s when you said USAID was created. We found that out, that they're funding these violent terrorists, Antifa, and violent terrorist BLM. We've been funding colleges, and we've been giving idiot kids student loans to go get degrees in gender studies, lesbian studies, right? We've been funding that with student loans that they can't pay back. They won't pay back, literally, folks, $5 trillion in debt to colleges. In other words, the government, the United States government, has given colleges in America $5 trillion fucking dollars. $5 trillion to fund the education of retards who want to learn about genders and underwater lesbian basket weaving if you only have toes. Stupid shit. Right? Stupid shit. So the majority is waking up to all this reality, and it's overwhelming. No doubts. But killing Charlie Kirk was really a very big deal. A very big deal. Thank you very much, Mr. Perry Blake. Now, we have a lesson learned, right? We have another lesson learned. A nasty left-wing scumbag mocked Charlie Kirk's assassination with a sarcastic, evil remark, and then she lost it. She panicked. She gets pissed. She's mad because she learned that there is a reality to consequence culture. So the Democrats had cancel culture. Well, the Republicans have kind of renamed it as consequence culture. So after suffering the consequences of her stupidity, talking a bunch of shit, right, this dipstick wrote, "While I believe strongly that words have consequences, there is nothing I did or said that even deserved a percentage of what happened to me and my family." You know what that tells me? These Democrats have no idea how when they find somebody, run to their boss and get them fired, how it causes not just that person to lose their job, but their household is damaged, their children are damaged, their spouse are damaged, their family members are damaged. There's car payments, house payments, bills, medical bills. All these things are affected very negatively, right? I mean, if you don't make one fucking payment on your car or your house and you're late, that ruins your credit. You'll get tanked 100 points, right? There's a consequence for a small fuck up. Whoops. The stamp I put on there fell off. I don't like stamps anymore. Right here you are. But this idiot had no idea. While I believe strongly that words have consequences, meaning I hate Republicans and they should be getting in trouble, not me. She also called what happened to her, quote, literal hell. All caps, folks. That's how she wrote it, in all caps. Yes, when we dare to speak up, there are benefits and risks. Risks. So I've been thinking a lot lately. Free speech isn't free. And while you have the right to remain silent, right, that is no guarantee there won't be a mob of lunatic liberal assholes at your door with pitchforks and guns, even if you're quiet. They can find out what you registered to vote as. They could see that you're on a Republican mailing list. They just need to do a little snooping in your life, and they'll figure out if you're not talking shit about Republicans, if you're not putting down Christians, if you're not laughing about Charlie Kirk, if you're not a subscriber or member on enough liberal forums, well, hell, you're a Republican. You're not doing your part to shit on freedom. So they can, no matter, being silent won't help you. So the silent majority, right? Silent majority better be, well, not silent. Uman says, as I always say, freedom of speech is not freedom from consequences. It's not. But if you're trying to avoid being destroyed by being silent, they'll find you anyway. They'll know who you are. Again, right? Are you going to blend in? Right? Invasion of the Body Snatchers? Are you going to act like they act? Are you going to make sure you laugh loud enough at jokes that put down Republicans? Are you going to be sure and eat your pink tofu for lunch? Eat your vegetarian burger and go, Right? Are you going to do all the things you have to do to blend in? If not, they'll come after you anyway. So being silent isn't going to help you. There's always a consequence, though. There's going to be consequences, whether you're silent or not. Now, whether I'm silent or not, either way, I'd be killed by these fascist Antifa, right? These racist BLMs, right? I would be killed by the Muslim Inquisition or the mega tribe of porn, right? So I may as well be true to myself. I may as well alert others. I may as well contact politicians and tell them what I think. And folks, yeah, we could have some crazy stuff as we've been discussing. And so I would rather know what the hell's going on, be prepared for it, and ride the lightning in this storm. Being silent isn't going to work. It never has. Being active, we're starting to see some interesting changes. We're starting to see the Democrats and the leftists running from us. At the same time, they're hardening their hearts and their minds, and they're going to come back after us. Interesting stuff, folks, and we're going to watch it all play out. Hey, Mr. Hooman, I'm having a great time on this particular show. What is it? What is it that we need to talk about? And it's me. Right? So we are our own worst appointment. We have both houses and the White House, yet no alignment between them. It's me. Guess what? Over the weekend, shocker, absolute shocker, the Republican Party approved, I think, 54 of Trump's, I think they're judicial appointments. In one big block, they just voted and said, fuck you, Democrats. And they actually did something. Now, it's not amazing to me that they put 54. It could have been 504 people in and got them passed. What surprises me is they finally fucking did something. Why? I don't know. I don't know why they finally did something, but maybe a better question is what took so long to finally do something? Who is owning and controlling these fucking idiots in DC that they wait 8 months like a bunch of chicken shits going on vacation to avoid voting, but all of a sudden they just say, hey, fuck you, Democrats. We're putting 54 people and we're just passing them. We don't need you guys. Right. The Republicans have the House. The Republicans have the Senate. They've got the White House. They're finally starting to pay attention. They're finally starting to wake up. They're finally going to do something. This is just a start. I am not going to hold a ticker tape parade for these fucking lazy bastards who I barely consider to be Americans. I don't want to hear, whoa, man, you don't understand power. Actually, I think we all understand power. You don't understand power at that level, though, John. So, my decisions and probably your decisions don't affect tens of thousands of lives. So, my decisions affect dozens of lives. Maybe my decisions, what to talk about in here, affect thousands of people. Right? But my power and authority isn't to regulate your life or regulate a business. But because you have that authority, why wouldn't you do the right thing? Why wouldn't you do your job? Well, see, there's control. Someone's controlling these people. And somehow, some way, for some reason, thankfully, they finally got 54 people passed. And they just were like, fuck it, we're not going to play this game. I don't think these congressmen and senators are courageous. I think they're on the grift. I think they're on the take. Prove me wrong. That's all I have to say is just prove me wrong. Prove me wrong and keep doing good things, Congress. Yes, I think we are our own worst opponent. I don't think describes the Republican Party. I'm going to go a little philosophical on you, a little psychological. I think we are our own worst opponent being human beings. Human beings can be weak. They can be unintelligent. They can be selfish. They could be all kinds of things. And I think that's the type of character we get in politics are weak human beings who are easily corruptible. They're so busy telling everything what they want to hear in an effort to get what they want. And ultimately, they rise to the top, right? The Peter principle. The worst amongst us move to the highest positions of power. And this is what we get. Psychologically, we're our own worst opponent. And I think what makes Republicans, in this sense, what you're talking about, is that most Republicans campaign and lobby and talk as if they are actually moral and decent and good. And yet, they're not. But because they have to pretend, right, They have to pretend that they're good and decent, and then they take no action. They don't want to offend anyone. They certainly don't want to be exposed for the scumbags they are. Look at half of Congress. They look like a bunch of fucking pedophiles. And I'm not just talking about just the Democrats. All right. Anyways, thank you. Psst, it's me, Ooman. Who's up next? We're at an hour and 15 minutes into the show. Share the internet address, folks. Share the internet address on social media everywhere. Boomer with a $20 super chat donation says, hey, just got back from the United Kingdom. That's Britain, right? England, the United Kingdom. And it wasn't 100,000 that showed up, but more like 3 million. But they can't wait 5 years for an election. They have to fight back, and right now. That is fucking amazing, man. Interesting. Yeah, the news here said it was 100,000 here. It looked to me like hundreds of thousands, but you're saying 3 million people showed up to protest. Now, this is what is amazing, Mr. Boomer, and I think it's amazing to all of us in the entire North American continent, is that you can have that many people, 3 million, so pissed off, so mad at Queer Starmer, so mad at Parliament, so mad at King Jackass himself, so mad that they put down their jobs. They put down their lives. They even fly across the Atlantic to go and assist in this, letting the government know nobody's happy with every single action and decision they've made. Right? The people vote for these people. They vote people into office in England, just like they do here, just like they do up in Canada. Yet no matter what, no matter how hard you vote, no matter how many people you get out there to register, who show up on election day, no matter what we do, we keep getting these fucking loser, sellout, dumbass, backstabbing liars. Period. And protesting, I think this is fabulous because the whole country knows. Right? The whole country of England, and now the Prepared Mind Network knows that it wasn't just 100,000 people marching through the streets, waving the English flags, right? Whether it's the white field with the red cross, it doesn't matter, right? The people know. But Queer Starmer hasn't changed a damn thing. He talks about free speech while he sends police to homes to harass, intimidate children, not for anything they posted now, but for merely observing a tweet, opening it up and reading it or looking at pictures. That is just wrong. You see what's going on here? Right? The United Kingdom is waking up and they're getting very close. And a lot of people believe they're going to have a revolution there. If you've seen the people that are the mayors and leaders within the country, they don't look very British to me. They don't look representative of the British culture. They look like Pakistan. They look like India. Same with Canada. And even the United States now. We have this jackass of a mayor in Minnesota. Dearborn. No, that's Dearborn, Michigan. Forgive me. Who told an American to leave the city. Called him an Islamophobe. This Islamic piece of shit mayor in Dearborn, Michigan tells an American that he's a Islamophobe. He doesn't get free speech. He doesn't get to address in a public forum those people who would presume to be his leaders. Well, England is doing this, but we're on our same place as England is. At some point, when the rapings are out of control, when the robberies are out of control, when the fraud's out of control, what was it, 6 or was it 8 people in Minnesota have now been arrested for fraud, stealing untold amounts of money in the billions. And if you read their names, they don't sound American. They don't sound Canadian. They don't sound English. They sound like they're from India, Pakistan. We find out what they're doing to our U.S. corporations. They bring themselves in. They get into positions of power in human resources. board of directors, and then they start importing their own people and firing Americans and saying, "Look at all the money we're saving the company." You see, they're not creators. They're parasites. They're not majestic eagles soaring in the clouds of intelligence. They're cuckoo birds, where they go into the nest of other companies that people have made and they knock the others out, the Americans, and put their own in it. Cuckoo. This is what's going on. They're doing it everywhere they can. Politically, in corporations, which means professionally. They're trying to destroy our countries. And they're selling out companies for a better profit line this year by firing some people and then hiring cheap labor that knows jack shit. It's a grift. It's a theft. It's fraud. It's bullshit. And it's not going to end quick. Good thing England is fighting back, waking up, and doing these these marches. But yeah, the government's not going to roll over. Queer Starmer didn't change his mind. He'll keep lying, but nothing changed. The government's not afraid. This is not Nepal, where they're going to take the government and drag them through the fucking streets, tar and feather them, throw them in the fucking river. They're not going to burn the parliament. They're not going to burn, Downing Street. They're not going to burn Windsor Castle the way they did in Nepal, where they burned everything. Right? But maybe they'll have to. In England, they have taken the king, folks, and executed the king in times past. Believe it or not, the English have, because of treason. And I think what they're definitely doing in England right now is treason, just as it's treason in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United States of America. And Japan, the people have come out very early in this game and said, whoa, 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 whoa. When their prime minister said they want to bring in 50,000 or 500,000, 500,000 of these foreigners, they're throwing them out. And I hope they do, because Japan is a unique and beautiful culture and traditions. And they will not benefit in the least from these third world fucking imports who are trying to already destroy their cities. And it's just begun there, but hopefully the Japanese fight back. All right, folks, what a great show. Great topics. We're almost 90 minutes in. What is it we're going to talk about? Who's up next? Mr. Uman, what do we got? Who is it? We got Bass Ackwards, who says it's amazing the scenarios they propagate in order to distract us from the mass destruction on the horizon. They do not want premature panic. There's only so much room in the bunkers, folks. I don't know how to address this this concept that you're talking about, because you're talking about bunkers. There's only so much room. There's only so many people who are in the club. It's a big club and you ain't in it. I want to direct your memory, if I can, to the movie 2012. I think it really demonstrates this club. So if you want to be on the arcs, you see the whole world's going to be flooded again. There's going to be global catastrophe, blah, 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 climate change. And in this movie, you had to be very wealthy and you'd have to buy the tickets to help fund this this life-saving, shall we say, life-saving entrance into the bunkers. They were giant ships, but bunkers. The people got there, the people that funded it, thought they were in the club, and they weren't allowed. You see, it is only the hyper elites who are going to get to use the bunkers. Only the biggest amongst them. They don't care about their own low-life people. So in the movie, the same thing happened. They're like, bye, fuckers. Thanks for all the money. You don't get to come on the ship. Well, ultimately in the movie, someone did a good speech, and they let them on anyways. Well, we won't have enough food. We don't have enough room, they would say. Yeah, there's only so much room in the bunkers, as Bass Ackwards points out. If something really bad were to happen, right? If something really bad were to happen, I think that the elite would realize, oh shit, we just caused a much bigger problem. And we're not letting everyone in the bunkers. We're not going to help the world. We're just going to take care of ourselves. And that's really how they act now. That's really how they behave. Thank you, Bass Ackwards, for that. Let's see. Let's have some fun here, huh? Let's see. Comments. Do. Well, here we are. Let's go with this. Big Dan the Man with a $5 super chat donation. He says, hey, wondering what the Democratic message they will run on in the midterms. I don't know. That's a great question. What are they going to run on? Orange man bad? Well, that's going to have to be the majority of their message, Dan. I think you nailed it. Trump is bad. Trump is evil. Trump is Hitler. Trump is a Nazi. Charlie Kirk barely dead, right? Yeah, he reached room temperature, but it wasn't more than a couple of days before Democrats in high positions of power, media positions of power, wealthy and influential influencers, social media personnel and media personnel, it didn't take more than just a few days before they started calling people Nazis again, before they started dehumanizing Republicans and Christians. Didn't take long. But what platform do they have? What message? What platform? What ideas? More abortion. Bring in more immigrants. Stop Trump from trying to kick the immigrants out. What else have they got? Well, there is a war right now between within the LGBTQIA pedophile system. Apparently, some of the lesbians, bis, and gays, right? They want to be disassociated with the transgenders and the super queers and the pedophiles. They don't like being associated with them. They feel like they had something going with just let us come out of the closet, just let us in the workplace and let us be gay and not fire us and be tolerant and let us get married and then let us adopt kids and whoops, too much in our faces. Now, there may be some great conservative gays out there. I know there are, in fact. But what did we get? We found out with that San Francisco video when they all started singing a song, doing it was a type of production. It was a production that got into social media, and it was kind of like a flash mob type thing. It was supposed to look spontaneous and cool and cute, but they started singing about converting our children and taking our children. Well, that was early on in this whole game. It sounded to me like the gays were perfectly fine with these people. And then they started talking about gays. And I'm going to remind you all of a story I told a long time ago. My father's stepdaughter was at school. She was in 6th grade. And they had a couple of gay guys come in the class. And this is in California. This is in a Republican zone at a rural school. Republican rural. And the guest gays, started talking about their sexuality. And folks, this is back literally in the late 90s. So 25 years ago, they started this shit. And the homosexual stood up there and said, yeah, we like thinking about sex all the time. That's what being gay is about. And we're thinking about sex with you right now. And when this story was told to me, I couldn't fucking believe it. But I could believe it, but I couldn't believe it. But yeah, they're all fucked in the head. Once you cross a certain line, I guess, you're now in that club. Very fascinating shit. Very fascinating shit. What is the Democrat message, Dan? They're going to have to run on a message of hate and fear. Hate and fear. That's what I think we've got. All right, Mr. Uman. By the way, Chin Music has checked in with a $10 super chat through Venmo. So I'm sure he's going to have a message. It'll be in all caps, no doubt, that come in here. In any event, I want to thank you very much, Big Dan. That's a great topic. What are the Democrats going to run on in the midterm? What do they got? Uh-oh, I think I've got the message here from Chin Music. He sent it to me. But literally, what do the Democrats have? Death, hate, death, fear, death, hate, homosexual, anti-American invasion, destroy the country, fuck it, they hate us, communism's great, yay. Not much of a platform. So, Chin Music does a $10 super chat donation into the Venmo, which is in the description. He says, Cornyn, it's a senator from Texas. Cornyn is already campaigning because he's going to get primaried. Okay, yeah, so Senator Cornyn, you might want to change his name to Senator Cornhole because he's going to get fucked, right? He's going to get primaried. He is not beloved in Texas. None of these people are really loved, folks. They just use smear campaigns. They control funding and spending. This is how they run the country, by shitting on little people, stomping on them, lying about them. But John Cornyn is in trouble. So Chin Music says there's going to be town hall soon. Town hall meetings. Oh, shit. Chin Music says, I'm going to let him have in my usual softy tone. Going to let him have it. There's going to be a town hall that the Senator Cornyn is going to go to. Chin Music's going to do it. Everyone. Now, John Cornyn, the senator, is in big trouble because Chin says every Christian woman in the crowd will probably run out holding their ears before I get tackled by security. Now, what I'm going to do is say I'm not going to suggest you do anything dangerous, harmful, any of that stuff. Be careful, man. But you might get asked to leave. In fact, knowing you as well as we do now, you're going to say those things because that's who you are. You're honest. Yes, Christian women in the crowd will cover their ears, but I think they're going to be mad enough that they may cover one ear. All right. They may listen to you and do one of these jobs, right? They may do that. But I think that these Christian women are also waking up, which is good. Which is good. I think that Christianity gives people who would normally be of weak character some spine and backbone, at least some centering, some grounding, so that they can't be tricked by these leftists. But the leftists have been infiltrating churches, right? They have. They've been infiltrating churches, making, well, homosexuals pastors. So really? Transgender pastors, drag queen pastors. That's not church. That's not reality. That's not Christianity. But this is what happens when politics and immorality overwhelm people. I think the Christian movement now is going to push back, which is great. Right? This nation was founded by people who believe in God and believe in, well, Jesus, a Christian God. They're not Jews. They weren't Muslims. They didn't practice Shinto or Buddhism. Right? They were American or European Christians. Anyways, I hope that you really give John Cornyn some intellectual ass kicks, right? Ask questions he can't respond to because his answer is going to reveal what a fucking loser he is. First question I can say is, well, at this point, but maybe next year it'll be something else. Why is it that you're in charge of the Senate, but you can't confirm any senators for 12 months, 16 votes, 16 months, right? Why did it take 8 months? Right? Explain to us why you in charge couldn't do anything. Explain to us, Senator Cornyn, why your voting record makes you look more like a Democrat than a Republican. Why didn't you censure Adam Shifty Schiff? Why didn't you kick him off all of his committee? Why did you give him committee assignments in the first place? He's already a fucking disgrace in the House of Representatives. Right? a lot of questions you can ask him that expose him as a scumbag. Anyways, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Mr. Uman, who's up next on the Prepared Mind channel? We've got Dangerous Freedoms checking in. Said the left's alignment is with China. That's why we always lose no matter who is in power. Well, I believe the left and the right are controlled by China. Remember that guy, Turtles McConnell, Senator Mitch McConnell, who was the Senate Majority Leader, who only recently gave it up to another sellout scumbag? Well, there are a bunch of these politicians who sold out to China. Who does that benefit, folks? Who else have they sold out to? Who is the other big complaint? Israel. That's right. The America-Israeli Political Action Committee, AIPAC, is funneling money, I believe, illegally. I believe it is. But until that evidence comes out in public, it's not going to matter. It won't change anything. They're controlling our politicians. They've even said, hey, look, if you want to play the game, pony up, kick your money down, start your own political action committees, and go in there and you buy these politicians. Well, as Americans, we're like, we already pay 40% of our fucking wages to taxes. At least 40% total. Now you want us to pay even more money to these people in Washington who serve one term, get lifetime benefits, lifetime pay, retirement, everything else, while they squabble and fight over how much they're going to screw us out of. Right? I get it. How can you not see? Not Z, not C. How can you not see the problem here, right? It's China. It's the super rich that run the banking system, the World Economic Forum in Europe. That's who really is, folks, running the country. Israel, China, and the banks. Russia, the one country accused of everything, I'm sure it's participating. I'm sure it's supporting in lower levels social media unrest, division, and everything else. I'm sure of that. I don't doubt it. I'm not Pollyannish, for fuck's sake. But I don't think Russian money is over here. That's a red herring, if I ever heard of a red herring. And I've heard of red herrings. I've heard of a lot of them. Anyways, let's talk about how the government lies to us and tries to convince us that it's doing our work. Right? The same way a lot of politicians cater to China. Right? The United Kingdom is formally recognizing the state of Palestine. How many of you agree that Palestine should be a state, a country? How many people think, no, it's Israel? Well, the proposal has been for a long time that it's a two-state deal. That, Israel is its own country and Palestine is its own country. What's amazing, what's interesting is, before 1948, the country that is known as Palestine and Israel, or Gaza and Israel, already was Palestine. It had its own name, Palestine. It had its own flag, which, by the way, had on it the Star of David. That's right. The Palestinian flag had the Star of David. Now, I actually saw in the state of Florida, someone in their front yard had a flag, and that flag had a sword on it. And I thought, these people are getting very brave, thinking everyone loves Palestine. We don't. But anyways, the United Kingdom and many other countries, by the way, have said, Palestine is a state. It's a country. So now, because the United Kingdom is saying we recognize the state of Palestine, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is now getting heavily criticized. And he is insisting that recognizing the state of Palestine is, quote, not a reward for Hamas. A lot of people are saying, hey, you're rewarding terrorism. Well, here's my thing. Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of England, he claims to have Jewish blood. He claims to have Israeli ties. I think he's more likely to be fulfilling the Kalergi plan, Look it up if you have any doubts about the reality you live in, where nations invite invasion and destruction. Look up the Kalergi Plan, and you can understand and you can see it at work, right? I believe that in England, they're bringing in all of these crazy radical Muslims, and now they're recognizing Palestine, just using Muslims as their violent muscle, their violent army to terrorize the Brits and the Canadians and soon America. They're going to try and terrorize us into their submission. Don't be afraid to speak. You are not going to be able to hide your conservative self in England and Canada and America. You're not going to be able to hide ourselves from them. And we are all going to be destroyed if we don't fight back politically. But yeah, that's just it, right? Who is playing the game? Right? Why would they recognize Palestine? It doesn't exist anymore. They completely fucking leveled Gaza. So to say Palestine is a state, where? We know the general geography, but there's no city there. There's no infrastructure there. There's no power, water, sewer, fuel, gas, industry, tourism, production, nothing. So how can they have a country? It's almost like they're saying, well, there's a country there now, but there's no country. It's unbelievable. China's sitting back. I'm sure China's like, fuck, we don't have to try too hard. We just have to pay enough politicians to do nothing, to be obstructionists, to stop America from becoming great again. That's all China has to do. Their people will already continue to do everything they can to destroy America and destroy Canada and destroy Australia and destroy the British United Kingdom, destroy Europe even, by destroying all the culture, all the laws. It's going to be a fucked up world, folks. It really is. I might recommend watching The Man in the High Castle. I believe it's on Amazon. And it's, I think, a 4-season show about what if the World War II had ended differently. And Japan controlled half of America and half the world. And, well, the Nazis controlled half the world. They're taking over and destroying the world, folks. It's not the Nazis, not the German Nazis. It's not the Imperial Japanese. Nope, not them. But there are people, or nations rather, that are working to these ends to destroy America and then control it for themselves. Thank you very much, Dangerous Freedoms. And, pardon me. We got a lot to talk about here. We really do. I don't know. Here's a topic. Ooman sent you a quick message. I think the conspiracy about Charlie Kirk is taking a turn into the world of conspiracy. Conspiracy is going mainstream, and one of the best ways I think to invoke or encourage conspiracy theories is to address them and keep addressing them. And I think that these are going to keep getting addressed because people have questions they want answers to. And now the Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's own organization, the TPUSA spokesperson, and they've come out and they've decided they're going to explain the lack of an exit wound in Charlie Kirk's assassination. And what he's done is there's a complaint. Where's the bullet? I want to know why it wasn't a crime scene. I want to know why the crime scene, because the crime occurred, didn't result in taping off the entire affected area, bringing in forensics to look for DNA information, clues. Instead, they took everything apart, cleaned it up, and are remodeling the entire area. In other words, they scrubbed a crime scene, which is against the law. So did a crime not actually happen? A lot of people are asking. I'm with it. Sure. Let's have some fun with it. Why wasn't it a fucking crime scene? But another one that was a big deal is, where's the bullet? You say it was a 30-06. You say it was fired from a certain gun. You said it was fired from a certain spot. Where's your evidence? People said, hey, by the way, that's a big-ass bullet, 30 caliber, right? 165 grain boat tail, full metal jacket, 30-06 round. Where's the exit wound? Meaning a regular man's neck is, 6 inches. 6 inches of soft, tender, not a blue-collar, muscle-bound guy, right? Shot in soft, tender. The only thing hard in the entire neck of a human being is the spine. It's made out of bone. And I'm going to say Charlie had a lot of, you could say backbone or spine. Guy was he was willing to stick it out there, right? But there's no exit wound. In other words, this bullet entered through a couple inches of soft tissue, should have gone clear through the spine, which is just bone, and out the back. There should have been blood and meat sprayed everywhere. Sorry for the graphic gruesomeness. But there was not even an exit wound. The bullet went in and just magically fucking stopped. So the coroner says, well, Charlie had very dense bones. He's got to have bones like Superman. A 30-06 round will go through a steel plate. Not bones. For some reason it can go through a steel plate, but not bones, right? The claim that his neck, right, a doctor said, he had big bones, big, strong, dense bones. It makes him Superman, right? The claim his neck stopped a bullet is something every vet and every hunter can attest to as being bullshit, right? A 30-06 round would have removed half his fucking neck. Shouldn't we trust the science, though? Actual ballistic sciences that show us that's what happens? Or should we believe government lies? This is what happened. Charlie was shot in the neck, and his spine was so thick and strong, his bones in his neck. Right? It's your choice what to believe, folks. But I think that TPUSA is encouraging people to keep asking questions by giving us the stupidest fucking responses. There's other people who believe that the trap door was open and Charlie Kirk faked his death and went through the trap door, and they pulled up a fake body that was, a mannequin of Charlie, and they put that and carried that to the car and got, took it away. Right? There's all kinds of conspiracy theories, but there's conspiracy facts. Like a 30-06 is not going to stop in a human's neck. It's right. In any event, it's just as big a shit show as the JFK assassination. But interestingly, the JFK assassination, folks, restored the status quo. John F. Kennedy was causing a lot of problems. He was causing a lot of problems. Be sure and thumbs up the video. Be a subscriber, and you can comment in the comment section after 5 minutes. But when JFK was killed, LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, the vice president, became president. Instead of calling off the Vietnam War, they sent money into it. Instead of pissing off and destroying the CIA became stronger and flourished. Right? Everything JFK was trying to do was reversed. In the case of Charlie Kirk, everything he was trying to do, which is wake up people, get them to start thinking, become better humans. All these general ideas are now mainstream, and people are taking it and running with it. It has the opposite effect. Let's hope and see if this goes and continues to go to a good place for us. All right, Mr. Ooman, who's up next on the Prepared Mind channel? We've got Big Dan the Man with a $20 super chat donation. He says, mutually assured destruction. All three superpower countries know that would be the big-time SHTF scenario. That's why we consistently have these smaller conflicts across the globe. Have to keep the military suppliers happy. Right? We can't have World War III to a massive extent, meaning nuclear weapons. We actually have 4 countries that I'm sure. Actually, well, there's others as well. Well, let's name them. Russia and the United States of America have the largest military stockpiles of nuclear weapons. China has their own. Israel has their own. India has their own. Pakistan, I believe, has nukes. But they, right, these countries know, they realize, they understand that if they try using them, everybody dies. What scares me is the countries, or rather the characters within those countries, who would be willing to start a nuclear war because, well, they don't give a fuck. They want to see everyone die anyway. They want to see everyone else kill everyone else anyway. I don't believe that's the US. I don't believe that's China. And I don't believe that's Russia. Because I believe they are not willing to mutually destroy themselves. Whereas the other countries on my list, I don't think they have that big a problem with killing and having everyone else kill themselves. But they do have to keep the military suppliers happy. You bet, right? Who controls the government? The people that pay off and bribe the government. That's who controls the government. Well, a lot of people complain about the military-industrial complex. There's $1 trillion of our budget every year. It's huge. We spend that much money to not even fight a war. We spend that much money just to maintain the military power that we have. And it dwarfs the rest of the world's expense that they spend on their military. The amount of money we spend dwarfs it, folks, the rest of the world, the whole planet, all combined. Yet somehow we can't manage to defeat the enemy in Afghanistan. We can't manage to defeat Russia by using Ukraine. I really believe the military-industrial complex is, well, just screwing the ever-loving shit out of us through the government with all their black ops crap and super secret technology crap that they won't even tell us about, but they claim that they have, and we better look out and shut up. You'd be surprised and shocked at all the crazy things they can do. It's amazing what they can do when they have unlimited amounts of money for R&D to help themselves to maintain their own power. Yeah, they're going to have to keep buying them off and paying them off. What a world, folks. The medical community wants to kill you. I'm firmly convinced of that. Yeah. Yeah, this term gain of function when it comes to viruses and bacteria and stuff, gain of function means weaponizing biological weapons. That's illegal. Why are they even fucking making them if they're illegal, if they can't be used? Crazy business, folks. The entire thing is a shit show. And hopefully they don't lose it. And someone doesn't think, hey, fuck it. We're willing to risk mutually assured destruction. But through it all, the rich will get rich and they'll continue to push this war. Thank you, Big Dan, the man, for always supporting the channel every week. Right? A lot of you guys are mainstay supporters and it's very much appreciated. We've got to keep the lights on. We got to keep spam tuna fish and a little bit of scotch in the pantry because they very well could, right, start a larger, wider war. They could start domestic insurrection wars. And heaven forbid they were to start a nuclear war with one another. All right, man, who's up next? We've got about 6 minutes left of the show. Folks, if you got something to say, I want to know. And Cyber Hana says, Charlie Kirk's killer doesn't have 3 names. No, he does not. Like Lee Harvey Oswald, right? Most other killers, assassins have 3 names, like John Wilkes Booth killed President Kennedy. But there was one I wanted to bring up for you, Cyber Hana, the killer of RFK Jr. While he didn't have 3 names, right, get his middle name, they did give him 2 names, but they're the same. His name was Sirhan Sirhan. Sirhan Sirhan. If you want to have some fun with that, read who Sirhan Sirhan was and where he came from and what his family is all about. Find out what he says about himself being the killer. What I recall is he said, I don't remember doing that, but I can't say that it wasn't me. The fuck does that mean? Either you did it or you didn't. Well, he knows he did it, but he doesn't remember that he was the one making that decision for himself. Right? But yeah, Sirhan. Most assassins do get all three names. Let's okay. Who is the one? John Hinckley. Was it John Hinckley Jr. that shot Reagan? Well, Junior is not really a third name, but anyways, yeah, most of them get three names. Thank you, Cyberhana. Oh man, we got less than 5 minutes cooking. What is out there? Who's out there? What do we want to talk about? We're running out of time, and it's Phlebitis with a $9.99 super chat. He says, John, to Mr. Glenn Fiddick and absent companions. Well, does that absent? What does he mean, absent companions? In any event, well, the Glenn Fiddick is here. And I don't think we ever did get our question from Darcy T, which somehow, here we are. Here she is. She made it back. Thank you very much, Darcy. She does have a $50 super chat. And I like that. She used PayPal. And there is a shot. Maybe this is the unforgotten or the forgotten companion. In any event, Darcy T, we're going to get to your comment here. Thank you for this to help, numb the pain at the end of the show. Oh, just so good. Okay, she says, good evening, John and the Prepared Mind family. She says, I don't have any questions this evening, just sitting back to observe all of the fallout over recent events to see where the narrative is going. As usual, it's not good. More government overreach and less freedom around the world. That's really interesting. I recommend it. For a lot of people, they do. They read the headlines, they see where it's going, and they're done. I like to read all the headlines, see where it's going, and then talk to people and share the ideas and tell people, get active, right? Get active. It's very important. But just sitting back and observing. Sitting back and observing. Listen to what the Democrats are saying. I'm not telling you to believe it by any stretch, but listen to them. Listen to how they address situations. Listen to how they all mirror each other. Listen to how they repeat each other's thing. Look at how they completely eliminate facts or misrepresent, good Scotch, misrepresent what people say, conservatives like Charlie Kirk or the president. And there's someone who's becoming very vocally active in politics. If you want to listen, find him and listen to Matt Gaetz, former congressman, was actually Trump nominated former Republican congressional man Matt Gaetz to be the Attorney General. There was such an uproar from the Democrats in Congress and Washington, and probably a huge uproar from Republicans too, if I remember correctly. They didn't want him there because, he might say and do too much. Matt Gaetz had a lot of problems with the complicit insiders in Washington, the Rhino Republicans, as well as Democrats. But yeah, if you just listen to what he's saying now, you might be shocked and go, why is he in that room talking about those items? Interesting stuff. All right, we've got, holy shit, less than a minute. Who's up next? Man. We've got Blue Cord Devil. What the hey? Another shot of 18-year Glenn Fiddick. Thank you, Mr. Blue Cord Devil. And we're going to end the show on this unless more super chats come in. Wow. That'll be the way to end the show with a nice, good, buzz. This one will do it right here. Blue Cord Devil, thank you, sir. This will put me in a happy place. Damn good scotch. Blue Court says, peace and prayers, John, Jolene, Uman, and everyone else. Watch your six, watch your backs. Stay calm and stay armed. Cheers. I think that is great advice. Stay calm. Even if things get out of hand, stay calm. Observe, listen. Be sure you are armed so you can protect yourself and others. Right? I'm sure that if something bad happens, well, I'm 100% positive, there's always a political play and a political counter move behind it. Folks, chance favors the prepared mind. Thank you, Mr. Blue Core Devil, for great support. Thank you to all who did super chat donations. Your support keeps the lights on and keeps me coming back. Otherwise, shit, I've got to get a third fucking job. And nobody wants that. Nobody. But folks, this is our country. It's been taken from us. You and I need to stand up, sound off, make some noise, tell the government we want our country back. We want our country to serve us, not China, not Israel, not the European Union, not the military-industrial complex, not the World Economic Forum and their banker cronies. This country serves us and us first, us primarily, us most, America first. America first. God bless you, one and all. Semper Fi means always faithful, and chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours.